Yo, what up? Welcome to Spectator Sporting. I'm Zach Roach, along with my partner in crime, Mr. Adi Wally. We got a special guest in the building. We got my man Bird here to talk about some players that should have stayed together in the NBA. This show is a little different we doing today. We're going to talk about, it's been a lot of players that played together, and we always say, man, if they would have stayed together, they could have did something. They might have did something, but, you know, one player might leave for money. The management just like, we trade somebody abruptly. So things happen all the time. So I'm going to start with our special guest in the building, Mr. Bird. Give me a combination or a team or some teammates that should have stayed together, but didn't stay.
Ah, man. I mean, it's so many. It's so many. I mean, I first come to mind is Kemp and Payton. You know, I think Kemp and Payton would have been able to get past the Stocktons and Malones and Houstons and them eventually had they. I thought that Marbury and Garnett would have, made something crazy. I wish T.I.M.E and Vince would have stayed together, in that time. Steve, Nash, and Dirk, I think would have been, ill. I mean, it's a few, of course, the Shaq and Penny. Yeah. Of course, Shaq and Penny, those would be like some of my main, ones, that stick out, I think they would have won championships,
So which one in your mind out of all those you named was like, man, that one was really the one that should have stayed together? Like, if you can go name any one of those, what's the combination that was for you?
Man, I mean, it's hard not to go Shaq and Penny, but T-Mac and Vince.
Ooh, yeah.
If they develop together like that, and have players around them, that shit could have been scary. So, I lean towards Shaq and Penny because I think, like I said on the show prior, that I think they would have been the team, if it was going to be a team to knock the Bulls off the throne, it would have been that Shaq and Penny Orlando Magic team.
Yeah, they could have.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean,
Shaq and Penny's your number one there.
Yeah, that's my number one.
No doubt. Yeah, Shaq and Penny, that was crazy. They came to the league right away and just pretty much took it over almost.
No doubt.
Question to you, Adi. Same question. What pair of teammates you thought, man, if they would have stayed together, they could have made some noise?
Well, not just a pair, you know what I'm saying? It could be trios and, and things like that. So, you know what? I always wondered what could have happened, what could have been if Chris Webber stayed with the Golden State Warriors,
Ooh, yeah.
They had Latrell Sprewell, Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullin, all right? And in the 1993 NBA draft, the Warriors drafted Penny Hardaway with the number 3 pick, but they traded him to the Orlando Magic 4 and 3 future first-round picks to Orlando for the number 1 pick in Chris Webber. Chris Webber ended up being the Rookie of the Year that year. The Warriors went 50-32 that season. Yep. They ended up playing the Phoenix Suns in the in the playoffs in the first round, but they did not have Tim Hardaway. He was out. He was injured that year, and they had Sprewell playing point guard, Avery Johnson off the bench playing point guard. They got swept. They lost to the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, that's the series where Webber took it around his back on Barkley. And then Barkley got 56 on
56 and 24.
Yes.
56 and 24 rebounds.
Yeah, that wasn't too good. I'm sorry, and I did mention before on the prior show that Phoenix Suns was a team of mine, a team that I really liked as a shorty growing up because Kevin Johnson was my favorite point guard. Yeah. Barkley was my favorite power forward. So we talking about a duo that I wish would have stuck together a little bit.
That's a good one.
Them two, KJ and Barkley, for absolutely sure.
Barkley.
But if you look though, is when you said that, it's funny. I had Webber, Hardaway, Webber, Sprewell.
They were supposed to be on the same team, but what's fascinating to me is how they broke up. All right, so Chris Webber, he hated Coach Don Nelson. Yeah. He hated him because Don Nelson loved that small ball strategy and then playing Chris Webber at center, and Webber hated playing center. And so also there was an incident where Chris Webber got into it with Don Nelson because he threw a fancy pass and Don Nelson got angry and yelled at him, and Chris Webber got pissed off. Yeah. He didn't like getting yelled at. And also the assistant coach, Greg Popovich, was with Golden State, and he said that Chris Webber wanted to be more like Magic Johnson. We wanted him more like Karl Malone. And so Chris Webber demanded a trade, and they ended up, he wanted to go with his old college buddy, Juwan Howard with the Bullets, and the Warriors traded him for 3 first-round picks, future first-round picks, and Tom Gugliotta. Tom Gugliotta, and the Warriors.
Gugliotta was decent.
He was decent. The problem with this is the Warriors didn't make a playoff. They didn't make the playoffs for 12 straight years after that.
Yep.
That was the longest playoff drought in franchise history.
And the Wizards, I mean not the Wizards, the Bullets went to the playoffs.
They went to the playoffs, but Chris Webber played 4 seasons with the Bullets and never won a playoff game. And he was partying too much with Juwan Howard. He got arrested a few times, and then he got traded in 1998 to Sacramento for Mitch Richmond and Otis Stork. And Chris Webber's best chance to win a title came his first season when he played with Mike Bibby. They made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, 2002 against Kobe and the Lakers and all that.
Shaq.
Game 4, they was up 2-1 in the series, and Kobe went to the hole with 6 seconds to go. Kings up 2 points. He missed the layup. Shaq missed the tip in. Vlade Divac.
One of the luckiest how you just tap the ball to somebody right in the rhythm.
He tapped it right to Robert Horry. And so the Lakers went on and they beat the Nets in the championship. That was his best chance to win. Then in the next season, Chris Webber tore his ACL in the 2003 playoffs in the second round against the Mavericks. And so that was pretty much the end of Chris Webber. And he wasted all those prime years playing with his buddy Juwan Howard and White Chocolate with the Kings. Where I just wonder what would have happened if he stayed with Sprewell, Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullin.
Absolutely. Y'all brought up some good ones. I mean, Marvin Garnett is the one I probably at the top, because that could have changed both of their careers in a sense. Garnett's biggest fault was not being able to win in Minnesota. He, the farthest he got was the Western Conference Finals to the Lakers. Against the Lakers, they lost. If Marbury, and when they had Sprewell, they could have kept Marbury and Garnett, because when Marbury first came to the league, he was a monster. I mean, he brought that little swagger. Him and Garnett, they made the playoffs one year as the AC, and I felt like if they would have kept developing, they had Tom Gugliotta on that team too. But I tell you, the Golden State, y'all bring up good points about Golden State. What you know about Run TMC?
Oh yeah,
Mitch Richmond, Chris Mullin, and Tim Hardaway. Golden State, Don Nelson once again made a trade, and they was, it was so much hype about a player named Billy Owens. It was so much hype. I mean, which he was a player at the time. If you watched him, he had all of, he could do it all. They looked at it. Don Nelson was one of the architects, believe it or not, of the small ball era. Yeah. Like, he was actually doing it back then in the 90s.
He was Mike D'Antoni in the 90s.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's another team. Vince and T.Mac, of course. That goes without saying. I mean, T.Mac never led a team well out the first round. Was him as the leader out the first round. Vince Carter could never get over the hump. He had a couple good runs, but I felt like if they was together, they could have did a lot more damage. They might have could have did something in the East when the Eastern Conference was kind of
it was bad in the 2000, the first decade.
The 2000,
you talking about Jordan and Pippen on steroids because it's in a sense of T-Mac offensive, like that's 60 points. You know what I'm saying? Like that's 60. And T-Mac was a demon on defense as well.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, the T-Mac and Vince Carter breakup was also fascinating to me because with the Toronto Raptors, they had Charles Oakley and they had Antonio Davis in 2000, and so they hated their coach Butch Carter, and so which influenced T-Mac to not like their coach Butch Carter as well. So that was supposed to be a reason why T-Mac didn't want to go back to Toronto. But the crazy part is, before T-Mac signed a deal with the Orlando Magic, the Raptors fired Butch Carter, and a week later they hired Lenny Wilkins in June, and T-Mac didn't sign with the Magic until August.
Yeah.
And so the thing is, so you can't really use that as a reason. The only real reason I can see him leaving his superstar cousin Vince Carter is because he wanted to go back home to Florida. He's from Florida.
T-Mac said it on the jump before. He was like, that was the biggest mistake I ever made, was leaving Toronto. Because I wanted to, I felt like I wanted my own team.
Yeah.
He said that, like that. He made that choice on I'm good enough. And he was good enough to, but he thought in retrospect, if I stay with Vince, and we, you know what I'm saying, the sky was the limit on with them.
Yeah. And they could have used each other because both of them had epic playoff failures going forward. I mean, so they definitely could have. I can tell you, I give you a coach and a player that should have stayed together. Stan Van Gundy and Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard was never the same. And I know he won a championship last year, but he was never as good once he left Orlando, once he left Stan Van Gundy.
Yeah.
So Dwight Howard was a beast, 4-time defensive player of the year, dominating best center in the league by far. And once he left Stan Van Gundy, I knew he had some injuries too, but it just never materialized. And it's been downhill for Dwight Howard ever since.
With Houston and the Lakers.
Then the Lakers.
Stan knew where to give him the ball, I guess.
Yeah. He knew how to coach him. He put him in great positions, and Dwight Howard wanted to leave. He didn't want Stan Van Gundy no more, and this, that, and the third. But Stan, that's one, they should have stayed together.
No doubt. and shit, yeah, I mean, they had Jamil Nelson, Reggie Lewis, and everything.
He knew Turkaloo for that one year when they went to the finals.
Right.
Turkaloo was with that Sacramento team too, though.
Yeah.
So so man, it's a lot of players. A lot of times, money coming away. People want to go get paid. In the case of T.I.M.E, he wanted his own team. Orlando management messed up the Shaq thing. They didn't want to pay Shaq. All Shaq wanted was more money than Alonzo Mourning. That's all he wanted. And then Orlando didn't wait till the last minute to do it. And the Lakers stepped in, and that was the end of it. And then Penny, once again, he had big injuries, and it never materialized for him. Luckily, unfortunately for Shaq, he got to go play with Kobe. So and D-Wade.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and D-Wade.
I wonder if Penny would have got hurt like that. If Shaq would have stayed, Penny, his load wouldn't have been that big. And so he probably would have played less minutes. It would have been less demand on him, and his career would have lasted longer.
And Payton was a point guard. He didn't want to be like he didn't want to be like the leading scorer. He would have rather. He wants to be a point guard. He'd be the closer and he'd be the point guard. Get everybody else above. That was his game.
Right.
So I get y'all. Let me, Bird, tell me about what you think and what would have happened if Nash and Dirk stuck together. You think they could have won a chip?
Yeah. I mean, we two duos that we named. I think they would have been battling, and in the mix as far as the Kobe, and not Kobe, but Marbury and Garnett, Nash and Dirk. I think they would have been.
Oh, that'd have been nice.
Natural enemies. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as the coming up, like it would have been nice to see them, grow into contenders. So I think that would have been. I think Dash and Dirk. You know what I'm talking about.
I got you.
Dirk and Nash would have. I mean, it's hard to not think they would end up winning the championship.
Yeah.
Just because of the basketball IQ, Mark Cuban putting the right people around him. So I know Mark kicked himself. Maybe he couldn't afford him. I don't know. That
he could
make sense. Yeah,
he could have.
Mark afford.
Well, Mark Cuban actually said it. He was like Nash was 30 at the time when he let him go, and he was like, he didn't think Nash had much left.
He was about to go become a 2-time MVP.
Yeah, he didn't. He always said that's one of his biggest mistakes.
He said that was his biggest mistake ever. That's what Mark Cuban said.
Yeah, that he let go of him.
But you read my mind with that, man. I was going to talk about Dirk and Nash is number one on my list.
Yeah,
they're number one on my list on players that should have stayed together, man. Because and they played 6 seasons together, 98 to 2004. In the 2003 playoffs, they made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Played against the Spurs, Game 3. The series tied at 1. Big Dirk Nowitzki collided with Ginobili, injured his knee, was out for the rest of the series. That's why they lost to the Spurs, and Spurs went ahead and won the championship. In 2004, they played against C-Webb and Mike Bibby in the first round, got eliminated in Game 5. That was the last game that Nash and Dirk played together, and then Mark Cuban offered Steve Nash a 4-year, $36 million contract.
Snowball.
Phoenix offered him a 6-year, $63 million contract, and then Mark Cuban was like, damn, that's my biggest mistake ever, because Nash got revenge right away the very next season in the 2005 playoffs.
Oh my God.
He got big time revenge on his
That was one of the best series that Nash was absolutely torched them hard.
I mean, it was game that the Suns was up 3-2 in the series. And Steve Nash hit a huge shot to force overtime, big 3-point shot. And overtime, he hit some clutch free throws, daggers to end the Mavericks season. He had 39 points, 12 assists, 9 rebounds in that game. He made Mark Cuban pay big time for letting him walk. And Nash was the MVP in 2005. He was an MVP that season, MVP the next season, and Dirk was the MVP the next season. And so, I mean, it's incredible now. The Mavericks did get their revenge in a rematch in the Western Conference Finals in 2006, but the Suns didn't have their best player. Amari Stoudemire was hurt. Their leading scorer All-Star was hurt. So I feel like that if Nash and Dirk stayed together, Tim Duncan don't win 5 rings. That don't happen. I'd say he can probably win 3.
That's bold statement.
He can probably win 3. Okay, Dirk don't have 1 ring. He have at least 3 rings.
You brought up the Phoenix Suns, and when they signed Nash, one player that left the Suns, and that probably could have got the Suns over the hump, Joe Johnson. Joe Johnson. You remember that first year they was together? Joe Johnson. They played the San Antonio Spurs, but Joe Johnson got elbowed in the face or something. He was wearing the mask. He wasn't himself, but Joe Johnson was 6'6". He was the guard playing along Nash. He also played backup point guard behind Nash. I felt like if they would have kept him with Stoudemire and Marion, they could have won some chips out there. I think, and I don't know. I don't know what Joe Johnson feels about the Suns, but I would like to hear him talk about if I know he went to Atlanta. It's hard.
He got paid.
He got paid. I'm not mad.
He was overpaid, vastly overpaid.
Yeah, but
even though he was a hell of a player,
he was real good. But that was one player who left. I was like, man, they could have kept him. And he would have came back healthy and played the Spurs with the healthy Joe Johnson, Steve Nash, Stoudemire, and Marion. Then it's like, all right, we got some matchups. So it was some good teams back then. Anybody else y'all we can think of?
Man, I got an offbeat one just from the 90s. These cats was a pretty tough duo, but they ain't last long. But Big Dog and Ray Allen.
Yeah, they was good. Yeah,
they got down a little bit. Being that we share the same first name, Sprewell, he come to mind with it. He already bought Sprewell up, but I thought Sprewell and Garnett also was a pretty good, you know what I'm saying?
Minnesota, yeah.
They was getting down, but man, I know it's some obvious cats that I'm not thinking about.
Yeah, well, you know what? Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson. I like that.
That's a good one. I like that one. I like that one.
Yeah. Larry could have. I wish they could have, patched that up and let just dominate. Go ahead and do that. I wish that would have been able to pan out.
Yeah. Alonzo Mourning, he left for Miami. They say he wanted a bigger market because the Charlotte Hornets offered Larry Johnson 7 years, $84 million, which was a really big deal.
At the time.
Yeah, at the time. And then I believe it was the summer of '95 when the Charlotte Hornets offered him more than Larry Johnson, but he turned it down to go play in Miami. And I wonder what could have been if them two guys stayed together. Dale Curry, I believe Kendall Gill was around and stuff. So Muggsy Bogues, of course. So that was a really nice team. I used to love that duo on NBA Jam, playing with Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson. He used to kill everybody with that.
That's how I mean.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
One more I got. Listen, this is very obvious. This is so obvious, and they had so much success. But they could have broke so many records if they stayed together. Kobe and Shaq. Kobe and Shaq. I mean, I know they did what they did. They won 3 rings. But if you talk about I know they got it handed to them, by the Detroit Pistons that year. But you could have easily brought Shaq and Kobe back the very next year, added a couple pieces here and there, and they would have been right back. That team could have won 5-6 championships just like the Bulls if they would have stayed together.
I don't think they had the mental fortitude to do it.
Well, Kobe wanted to be the man.
That's it. So and so did Shaq.
And so did Shaq. Both of them.
Like Shaq did this shit twice in his career. He left Orlando under the same circumstances, just without the chip. But he just so happened to leave LA with 3 of them. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that. I kind of believe that they got as far as they didn't go as far as they could have went, but they went as far as they could go as far as how they was just it wasn't no more like their mentality didn't allow them to get past that and realize, man, look, we can still dominate. Let's get past our little personal and our little selfish whatever, and let's kill. It just got to the point like, look, man, I don't want to play with you, and so I mean, I do agree if they stay together, and they put the proper adjustments around it, they win at least one or two more, at least one more.
Absolutely.
Because people start catching, Shaq started slowing down a little bit, but shit. But I mean, Shaq had.
Well, he had some good years in Miami. When he went to Miami, he always say he should have got MVP over Nash that 1 year.
He had a good year or two in Phoenix.
Yeah, so I mean it's a lot of teams, but I guess everything ain't meant to be. What you gonna say?
No, but Bird brought this up a little earlier. I just want to go a little depth into the Sean Kemp and Gary Payton.
Yeah,
I think they should have stayed together a little bit more because after the Bulls, the last dance with the Bulls, when they eliminated them, that was actually the beginning of the end of the Sonics because that summer the Supersonics signed the great Jim McLevin to a 7-year. $33 million deal, okay? And that pissed off Sean Kemp.
Yeah.
That pissed him off because he was making more than him,
Absolutely.
And he tried to. Yeah, I agree. McLevin was horrible.
Yeah.
Okay? And Sean Kemp, he tried to renegotiate his deal. Sonics wasn't having it. So Kemp, he started showing up very late to flights, practices. He started drinking a little bit much. But they still
probably doing a little more cocaine.
Yeah. And so that was in '97 playoffs. They got eliminated in the second round by the Houston Rockets with Sir Charles and Clyde Gladden and Hakeem Olajuwon. That was his last time playing with Gary Payton. He demanded a trade.
Yep.
They did a little deep team trade, sending him to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
That was actually his best season personally in Cleveland.
He made the All-Star team.
Yeah, that was his best personal season there, individually.
Yeah, a whole nother discussion. Sean Kemp, to me, should get some Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
But you know what? Because he always forget. I'm glad he said the name Drexler. Like I said, a little offbeat. Drexler and Porter used to be some dogs, and that Portland team was real. Like they was making it to the Western Conference Finals, but losing to the Lakers or some shit like that. But then when they got past the Lakers finally, they run into the Pistons and they run into the Bulls.
Yeah.
So but they was real though. You know what I'm saying? Like it was hard to deal with them, and so and Portland. I mean, and that backcourt was. They had some dogs, but Terry Porter and Clyde was what made that go. So they was a nice little,
Absolutely.
You know what? Y'all forgot one. I thought somebody would bring it up before this last team. I'm gonna say KD, Harden, and Russell Westbrook.
Oh yeah, that's
KD, Harden, and Russell
Westbrook. That's it right there. That's it. I mean,
definitely.
OKC could have about 3 chips right now. They would have just kept Harden, Russ Westbrook, and Durant together.
Dude,
seriously, that's just what it is.
They was the most fortunate. Yeah, that was some of the most fortunate and best GMing. I mean, because it's other players that they had that you forget about. They had Jeff Green. They had Serge Ibaka.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? These guys, they drafted.
Yeah, Reggie Jackson.
These guys, they just drafted. They was just, I'm just saying, Preston couldn't miss for a minute.
No, he was on fire.
He was on fire.
That's a great one right there. Let me throw some Bulls. Let me throw the Bulls in the comment. Ben Gordon should have never left the Bulls.
I agree. That was my man.
Yeah, the Bulls offered him $10 million a year, and Detroit offered him
$1 more. He was on some spike, like, man,
his career took a downturn.
I thought Ben was.
I felt like if we had Ben Gordon at Eastern Conference Finals against Miami, we might have been able to get there.
Absolutely.
Ben did it for you.
Ben was supposed to be he was supposed to make that transition to being the microwave.
Yeah.
That's what he was supposed to be. He was supposed to come off that bench and hit you. Yeah. For that 30-40 sometimes.
Ben Gordon and Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
Man.
So All right, y'all. You've been watching Spectator Sporting. We've been talking about some of the players that play together, or whatever teams that lost players for whatever reason wish we would have stayed together. This show will be up very soon, so if you got comments, go ahead and leave comments. Give us some people that we might have forgot, some people we didn't talk about. Let us know. I'm Zach Roach. Hold on, go ahead.
I got somebody, man, and it wasn't really a duo, but I wish Charles Oakley would have got a championship for the Chicago Bulls. Mike and Charles Oakley.
They traded for Bill Carter. That's a good one.
I wish Charles could have got one of them, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was like the lead rebounder with the Bulls. Absolutely. But yeah, like I said, go ahead, leave some comments. If we forgot some people, go ahead and let us know, and we definitely will respond. I'm Zach Roach, along with my partner, Mr. Adi Wally. Shout out to our special guest, Mr. Bird, in the building. In the meantime, in between time, we out. Peace.
Wendell Carter, take Oakley number off, boy.
Yeah, didn't you see Chris dunk on Charles Barkley?
Nice.
I didn't see that. I went something like this.
Put the cape on though, because I was like Superman.
Oh yeah, you were. Let me put that on. You can be Barkley, see.
Okay, where at?
Catch it like this, around the back.
I'm Barkley coming
So he's Barkley trying to block it. Oh,
Wait, he's too high. He's too high.
and then what did Barkley say?
He said, I don't believe in role models, but you mine.
We played together for 2 years, and I went to Orlando, and it was a tough decision to leave, but going home, playing in front of the hometown, because I grew up in that area, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So now that I look back, it's all over. I wish I had stayed, man.
Really?
I swear. I swear I wish I had stayed.
They've eliminated Dallas in 6 entertaining games. High scoring, and Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash, the two